Hi, I'm Dr. Lewis Hassel, Professor of Pathology at the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center, and I'd like to talk to you today about something that I think is extremely important. We have a huge problem in the world ahead, which is that there's a tremendous gap between the haves and the have-nots, particularly when it comes to healthcare. So I'd like to talk about what are the things that I've been doing and many of my colleagues have been doing to tackle that gap. So the health equity gap really begins not just with practitioners or drugs and so forth, but is very much related to the infrastructure underlying our healthcare system and some of the key personnel that are required for that. As you may know, a tremendous amount of medicine depends upon the presence of diagnostic laboratories. And that's going to be particularly true as we look ahead and see the number of new non-communicable diseases like cancer, heart disease, and other sorts of things of that sort that rely heavily upon the expertise of a pathologist and upon quality laboratory practices related to that. Well, let's just talk first about what we want to accomplish here. I want to tell you about open and why it exists because I believe this is part of the solution. Talk a little bit about what we've been able to do thus far and where we're heading, what's coming in the next few years, and then potentially open the door for you or your organization to become involved with open. If we look at this map of the world, kindly provided by my colleagues, Dr. Bishkov and Fukuoka, that demonstrates some of the areas of the world that are in good shape, where we have probably enough pathologists, these areas in green, where the ratio of pathologists to population is over 40 per million. In the United States, it's one pathologist per maybe 40 or 50,000 people. In contrast to other areas, as you see, large areas of Europe, portions of South America, Asia, as it pertains to Russia, maybe Japan and Korea, where we have a bit of a shortage, but maybe not terribly severe, 20 to 30 pathologists per million. And then we look at the vast majority of the rest of the world's population where we have a pretty significant lack of pathologists. These areas that are in orange and red. And some of them are well founded on data and others are a little bit more conjectural. But you get the feeling that most of the Southern Hemisphere and large portions of Asia are in trouble with regards to the potential future diagnostic services of pathology. Now, traditionally, pathology training happens to fill these gaps and to expand the services and so forth. But if we look at Africa in particular here, you can see that the number of people in the training pipeline is really not sufficient to even meet the current needs of this part of the world. And if you project this kind of numbers forward, it's literally going to take hundreds of years for this to be solved. The pipeline is just too small, and it's not a pipeline, it's not a process or a training structure that can be readily scaled up to deal with the increased demand and the increased need. If we look even more focused on one country, this Cambodia, a population of about 18 million and only 16 practicing qualified pathologists in the country. Now, they do have now a training program, a 4-year program, in which they have begun to enroll trainees. But that number, again, is still very small and over the course of time is going to be stressed to be able to meet the needs and demands for pathology services, particularly when you start looking at the number of annual cancers per year. 20,000 cancers per year is an enormous number if you're talking about having to deal with that with 10 or 20 pathologists. 1,000 cancers a year would imply that there's probably 6 or 8 times that number of samples that need to be identified to be able to make and care for that number of cancers, to screen for, eliminate those that aren't, and so forth. So that's an enormous workload and would quickly burn out that population of pathologists. So that's the reason we have Open. Open is the Open Pathology Education Network and is really an alliance of individuals and organizations that are interested in solving this shortage of pathologists worldwide. We want to help improve human health by lowering the barriers to pathology services by making more pathologists available in more places. And in the process of enriching these resources, we believe that will also help the existing pathology community to see improvements in their level of practice as well. Well, what are some of the barriers to training? Well, in fact, cost is a huge barrier. In many of these developing countries, people have to pay to participate in a training program. In contrast to, say, Western Europe or the United States, where there's at least a living stipend provided to medical graduates that are in these training programs, that's not true in many, many countries of the world. And I know of instances where people have mortgaged their home so that they could go and get training for their child or their offspring or another person. Distance, traveling away from your home, living in a foreign place is also a challenge. So Open is seeking to offer this at no cost and virtually that can be done from wherever you are and wherever you're living. The quality of materials that's available. It takes time to develop libraries of slides and libraries of specimens and the referral sources so that people have things on which to practice. Well, with digital materials, we don't have that problem. These are available to a broad audience at the click of a mouse or a cell phone and can be accessed in small fragments, small bits, as you have time in your schedule. Likewise, many people, as they engage in a program, they may lose their sense of uh, connectedness to that program. Their personal desire may wane and so forth. And so you need to have some interaction and some personal encouragement and so forth. And that's one of the things that Open has been providing as well. And finally, do I know that taking this training program is going to lead me to a meaningful improvement in my skills and in my ability to work? Well, that's another area where Open is seeking to make a difference. So what's the learning model that we're using? Well, Open has a hybrid model of learning that includes self-paced, high-quality, curated online curriculum that's composed of open source materials and therefore available free of charge, coupled with live intermittent mentoring sessions with experienced faculty using this case-based echo model that provides learner-teacher, teacher-learner model engagement between more senior and learning pathologists at the same time. And in that process, both of the online materials and in the mentoring sessions, there is both objective assessment as well as more subjective assessments that can be provided by the mentors. Well, we think this needs to be validated. We're not going to just throw this out there and say, oh, go to it. We want to make sure that this works. And so we think there are three categories of people that need to be assessed in terms of their ability to be successful with this. One is, can this be a companion to people who are in existing programs? Can this help them to do better on their boards? Can it help them to accelerate competency? Those kinds of questions. Does this help people that are already in practice, that are in service? Does it help them to get better? Does it provide subspecialty or fellowship type training to people who are in still a more general backdrop of experience? And then for new learners of pathology, can this really be a true full service residency in the cloud, so to speak, for these patients? Well, some of these studies are underway. Some of them have been completed, or some are yet to be completed. One of them was our first pilot study, which was looking at the ability to train subspecialty level experience to take existing general pathologists and move them into competency in a subspecialty area. This was done in conjunction with the International Society of Gynecologic Cancer, International Gynecologic Cancer Society, IGCS, at their Da Nang training site where they have a remote GYN oncology fellowship training site. We noticed as we participated in their tumor boards that there were a high proportion of cases where review by the international expert pathologists differed or required some revision of the diagnosis compared to what was done locally. And since they only had a couple of cases that were presented a month, of course, this represented a fairly low sample number. But over time, as you can see here, it was usually half and sometimes all of the cases that had diagnostic discrepancies. So we began our training program here in July of 2022 and carried through till July of 2023. And as you can see, over the course of this period of time, the number eventually dropped to zero during the last 4 months of our period and going beyond our training period. And I can inform you anecdotally that this trend has held true over the ensuing 2 years as well, that the number of cases where there is a significant problem or discrepancy on outside review is essentially nil. That's very encouraging. Our second trial is the New Pathology Education Paradigm, or the NewPEP trial, which seeks to see if we can take essentially pathology naive new learners of pathology and help them advance their diagnostic competence in a manner similar to or potentially even better than those enrolled in a conventional training program. We also have enrolled in this trial a number of people who are in training programs in their early years to see whether this can be also useful to hasten their diagnostic competence. And so far, we have about 50 people enrolled. This is a multinational interinstitutional study that is underway. The types of materials that we're using on our learning platform look somewhat like this. There's a combination of, as you see here, links to open source web pages, path outlines, other sorts of sources, YouTube videos that cover specific topics, and then also some self-assessment questions to keep them engaged as they study through some of these things. The materials are heavily oriented towards digital slides materials, largely thanks to our collaboration with the Digital Pathology Association. But these are slides that can be accessed from anywhere, very low bandwidth, and can provide interactive ability, the ability to see the context of materials and so forth. Now, we also believe that this is going to help to hasten competence, and that's based on largely my own personal experience in dealing with resident trainees in my own program, where I noted that under the usual scenario where residents come to me with just kind of random cases and so forth, and we go through them, and here's the diagnosis and so on and so forth, and they read about a few things. It was often taking 6 months, 9 months before they were really very proficient with handling one of the most basic functions in GI pathology, colon polyps. And so we developed a review study set using whole slide images and some explanatory notes, and began to assign the residents to do this little tutorial either in video form or video and the digital slides prior to coming to random case sign out. And in fact, the results were just totally blown out of the water. The time to be able to develop greater than 95% competency in terms of classification decreased from months to literally weeks. And that was so encouraging that we began to develop additional topics: thyroid tumors, breast tumors, salivary glands, parathyroids, Barrett's esophagus, liver cancer, and so forth, so that these kind of tools could be used to accelerate their competency and their confidence level in these things. As we look at usage of materials on Open, this has grown rather organically. We have done virtually no promotional work other than kind of talking about it at meetings and so forth, and making a little bit of awareness out there. But as you see here, just using the GYN module, this was as of October of 2024, we'd had 76 students go through this from 28 countries. When we look at the breakdown of our new PEP trial, as you can see, we're very heavily Asian oriented here with 30 from Southeast Asia, another from North Asia, and a few from other continents and the United States. These are some of our enrollees from Cambodia that I had the chance to meet recently. At present, the curriculum that's available includes the basics of pathology workflow, GYN pathology materials, MMR testing, urine cytology, breast module 1, and soon GYN cytology modules as well. Likely we'll also have modules available in pediatric pathology and head and neck pathology in the coming few months, as we have other modules, as you see, in development and forming going forward. We plan to also include areas of clinical pathology in this training because we think the materials for that will also be very useful and provide a useful adjunct to these materials. If you'd like to sort of see what some of these look like, certainly take a chance to scan the codes here and take a look at some of the offerings that are available. It's also available through our website, open-pathology.org, and you can find it there as well. I have to say this is not my effort alone, that this would have been impossible without the tremendous sense of volunteerism amongst pathologists. And I think this stems largely from the desire that has been longstanding in pathology to see quality improvement be something that we were devoted to doing. Beginning with the College of American Pathologists and the Lab Accreditation Program, we have many people with a strong volunteerism sense. And these are just some of those who've helped and are helping to develop our course materials for open. And that's largely work of curating existing resources, but oftentimes there are gaps, and we've been trying to fill those gaps as well. Open is a 501c3, a nonprofit organization. We have a board of trustees pictured here. And as you can see, they have resumes that are pretty impressive. Professors, leaders in business and industry, creative minds, international backgrounds, and so forth. This is very much a dedicated volunteer board that sees the problem and is eager to see this problem solved. We have also a few partnering organizations. I've mentioned some of these: the National Society for Histotechnology, International Gynecologic Cancer Society, and the Digital Pathology Association. All have or are in the process of developing formal MOUs. We'd love to see lots more organizations here: academic organizations, pathology advocacy organizations, and so forth. World organizations need to have a stake in this because you do have a stake in what we're doing. This is not a single stakeholder endeavor at all, and we can't do it alone. We very much need your help. And that includes the commercial or industrial side of things. What we are doing has enormous impact in terms of developing markets and gaining access to more patients for all of these companies that depend upon a diagnosis being made, treatment being given, and those sorts of things. These are all problems that are not going to be totally solved by artificial intelligence. These are going to require boots on the ground, eyes at the microscope, hands on the instruments to be able to make these things happen. And quite frankly, as this kind of educational and training occurs and remains locally, it will pull in the resources from these kinds of organizations to help to accomplish their tasks. So it makes only good sense that these organizations, and I'm speaking to all of you, should have a stake in what we're doing. And that should be expressed in various ways as well. So where do we have needs now? Well, obviously, we need more volunteers to help with developing course materials. We want to have a full curriculum in anatomic and clinical pathology within the next 2 years. And that's going to take a lot of effort and some funding. So that's supporting for course funding as well as volunteering to help develop course materials. If you have access to materials that would be useful for this, bringing those forward would likewise be very useful. Our mentoring sessions, we haven't talked a lot about those, but those are also a key part of that. And these also require volunteers and some help in doing that. Down the road, it's likely that mentor hosting to document competency, to enable practice, and to vouch for people's progress will also be important. And then finally, building the alliances, doing the advocacy with credentialing organizations and so forth. That's going to be an important part of our work as well. So if you have skills there, we welcome that kind of assistance as well. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope this has given you a good introduction to what open is, where we're going, what we need help with, and what we see as the vision for the future. Thanks so much, and until next time, thanks for joining me.